before we go to after party. In your last sentence, you said you wondered, is this a reference to the hit game Super Mario Wonder on the Nintendo Switch released in 2023?
It's actually a reference to the Cave of Wonders from the hit game Kingdom Hearts 1.
Okay, all right. Hello, happy Wednesday. We're 2 weeks late.
No, we're 1 week late.
Yeah, we're 1 week late. It's been it's been 3 weeks since we've done this. Maybe that makes more sense in my brain. You're right, though. We're only a week late.
Yeah. No. It's been 3 weeks, but we're only a week late.
I'm blaming Emily.
No, I'm pretty sure that was 100% your fault. I had a nephew born today, and I finished off an 800-page book, and I'm here.
Last week, I had to deal with unforeseen circumstances near my house that we didn't want to go home because of, but I'm not going to go into details.
Yeah, that's valid. I will say before we start this, as I mentioned, I did just polish off an 800-page book. I have a nephew who's born today, so my brain is not processing things very well right now. It's thinking about this book to finish, and I had to review my notes on Assassin's Creed Mirage to remember what I thought and how I felt. But we're not just going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Mirage today. We're going to be talking about the series as a whole and where it started, where it went, what happened, how it lost so many of its fans, and where it's going to go from here. Because I'm intrigued now. I'm intrigued.
Slightly off topic, I just downed a bowl of gumbo in 3 minutes flat, and if I make any weird noises because of that, I apologize in advance. But that was my dinner, and I had to eat. Go ahead.
For context, I feel like we should talk about the games in the series we have played, because I think I've played more than you, but you've also played a few I haven't played.
Yeah, I played one you haven't played. No, two.
Well, you didn't beat Unity.
You? No, I didn't beat Unity. I got 3-4 hours in before I'm like, this is stupid, and I never want to touch this again. And if you ask me anything about it, I won't remember. I just remember, when we get there, we'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there.
Oh, also one. You didn't play one. I did play one.
Oh, that's true. You're right, two.
No, one.
2 games.
One. I'm fucking with you, Emily.
Stop this. Don't do this to me. So I have not played Assassin's Creed 1. I was told it was boring and difficult wasn't worth the play from the people I knew who played it. So I played the 2 trilogy, and I haven't platinumed all those. I had to think about that for a second. And I played platinum. I got to Revelations, and I was burnt out on
Brotherhood. Was
not only Assassin's Creed, but the Ezio trilogy in general. Brotherhood took a lot of my mental capacity away from me, and so by the time I got to Revelations, I think I played a quarter of it, and I was like, I can't right now. So I got to go back, and then I've played 3, platinum that one. I skipped Black Flag because I hate ships.
She's wrong, but as the person who pushed me to play Odyssey, which has a heavy emphasis on ships.
Yeah, but it's so long. The ships aren't the main part of the story and the way they are with Black Flag, and the ship mechanics had 10 extra years to develop, so...
I need you to play Black Flag.
I'm going to. They're remaking it. I'm going to play it when they remake it.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, even the original, the mechanics are good. We'll get there when we get there.
And then I fell off Assassin's Creed for a few years until in college I found Syndicate, played Syndicate, loved it. Fantastic game from beginning to end, in my personal opinion. And then I came back for Origins and Odyssey. Did not touch Valhalla. But I have to say, Assassin's Creed tempted me back in with Mirage, and I'm glad I did. Would you like to share your history?
Oh, yeah, my history. I started with Assassin's Creed 1 when it came out, and I'm like, this is pretty good. I like this. Thanks, Ubisoft. That was pretty cool of you. And then Assassin's Creed 2 came out, and I'm like, I'll try it. The first one was pretty sick, and it was better in every way, shape, and form. It's a perfect, okay, there's no such thing as a perfect game.
It's not a perfect game. It's not a perfect game.
No, it's a solid 9 out of 10 game. 9.3 out of 10. game.
Nah, the parkour is pretty terrible, but we'll get there when we
But
get there.
this was early. This was early.
Yeah,
was still
but the
early.
parkour is still terrible.
And then they're like, hey, this 2 game's really good. Let's make 2 more of them. And they're fantastic. And those were the first 2 Assassin's Creeds I pre-ordered. Okay? I pre-ordered those. Phenomenal. Loved every minute of them. I can talk about them all day long. Then we got to Assassin's Creed 3. It was fine. It's a game.
It exists.
Colonizers. Anywho, excuse me. Oh, what was that? And then you get to 4, which is Black Flag, which I adore Black Flag. I will be honest. It has been a very long time since I played Black Flag, so my memory of the story is a little bit wonky.
And here you are recommending it to me.
Because
I can't even remember it.
Look, I remember the gameplay being phenomenal. This is before I got really huge into story-based games. That's oddly enough, other than Kingdom Hearts, it took me a while to really get into like story-based games. And then tragedy struck.
Unity.
Let's talk about back in the day when games were cheap. The Xbox One was a console that barely sold at all, and this is relevant to the story. So I traded in like 5 or 6 games, and I got an Xbox One for like $50 because nobody wanted them. It was dirt cheap. It was a good deal. A couple games and $50 out of my pocket, great. And I'm like, hey, look, there's that new Assassin's Creed game that came out on the new consoles. I'll pick it up. Yeah, no. Some bogus ass Romeo and Juliet nasty story, and I got over so quickly. And the parkour was good, I guess. The gameplay was fine, but oh my goodness, it was so boring.
That Unity does have the best parkour in the series.
I can believe that. I can believe that. I will say this. I was gonna give Unity another shot. The reason I was going to give Unity another shot was because I heard they updated it. They updated some things, and then once you get past a certain point, it gets way better. So I'm like, all right, I want to start from scratch because I only played 3 hours of it, and it was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Then I find out, unless you like do some wizardry, you couldn't delete your previous save. Like you couldn't just start a new game from the main menu. And then I'm like, nope, I'm swearing off the series forever.
Thing in other games though.
Yeah.
Like you have to go to your system saves and remove the save game from there.
The Switch is notorious for it. I will say the Switch is very bad. It's, Animal Crossing, you have to do it from there. Pokemon games are the same.
It's not something that's enjoyable. It does make me feel like I'm deleting everything from my console. But I will say I don't think that's exclusively an Assassin's Creed problem.
No, it's not. That's just my first taste of it, and so it stuck with me.
And you haven't played a game since, have you?
Well, I mean, that's not true anymore.
Oh, you started Odyssey, yes.
Yeah, I need to go back to playing Odyssey. I need to actually.
I'm very excited for this because Odyssey's so good.
I was like, yeah, I'm going to play Odyssey off stream, and then Nintendo said, hey, we're turning off our 3DS online servers in April. I'm like, oh, this project in Pokemon I'm working on, I have to get it done quick. So
that's fair. That's understandable.
But I'm going to get back to it. Plus, I have to finish Mario Wonder for next week. But yeah, that's my history. Story-wise, I'm gonna be honest. The SEO trilogy has a great story. Black Flag, I remember having a pretty decent story, but once again, it's pretty spotty. Other than that, it's okay. It's sometimes very predictable.
It's 'cause you didn't play Syndicate.
It's true. I didn't play Syndicate.
And you haven't beaten Odyssey yet. And then you feel like, whoa, this story's so good.
I was going to go in order and play Origins first. And then I got fussed at because I was going to play Origins before Odyssey.
I have to admit, I haven't beaten Origins yet. I actually looked at it and it says I have 90 hours in that game. And I'm kind of baffled because I've picked up that game and put it down like several times over the last 3 years. And I still haven't beaten it.
There's a good chance you just put it down and never turn it off because that will rack up hours.
Well, I'm pretty far into the game. Every time I open up the game, I'm like, I can't remember anything I've done. And then I go to like my assassinations page and I've killed like the majority of the people. But I still don't have like half. It's a long story, but we'll get there. I got very burnt out on the open world system the game had, which we'll talk about, because this Assassin's Creed series has gone through a lot of changes, a lot of evolution, and it's going to continue to do so in the upcoming games. And I'm really looking forward to it. As many of you probably know, this series started off as the worlds weren't huge. I mean, they weren't tiny either, but they were like normal size, I think. Like they were very like digestible.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot to do, but like I never felt overwhelmed. Like I never felt like there was too much world or too little world.
For context, the original Assassin's Creeds were smaller than Kingdom Hearts 1. I'm going to say that much.
That's a good way to put it in perspective. And they were very focused on like social stealth. Like you had to follow people around and eavesdrop. You had to like, there was this notoriety system where every time you did something wrong, your notoriety increased, and then guards would be like looking out for you. And then you had to like tear down wanted posters and stuff.
Might I say that is directly pulled from GTA, and I'm not gonna let Assassin's Creed get away with that one.
Okay.
That's very much a GTA. I don't even play GTA, but it's very much a GTA thing.
That tracks. I feel like that would work very well in GTA. And they had pretty intense stories, but they also were a culmination of past and present. So usually you started out in the present as the character Desmond, and you essentially had to get a backstory about why he was playing through this assassin's life, like what the assassin knew that he had to go in and find. And so you continue to go back and forth between these characters, and then it usually ended with the game in the present with Desmond going to retrieve whatever he had learned from the memories. Over time, that disappeared completely. They killed off Desmond. They weren't sure what to do after that. They tried very sad a little.
About that, by the way.
Yeah, it was not the ending Desmond deserved. But it kind of felt like we were going to build to something, right? Because Desmond dies to save humanity. And by doing so, he releases Minerva. Juno, one of the two. I can't remember. I always get them mixed up.
I think it's Minerva. It might be Juno.
Juno. I don't remember.
Your memory is way better with this than mine is. Because, it's been a very long time since I played these games.
If they were given their Greek names, I bet you I'd remember. The Roman gods' names are a lot more difficult for me to remember. And then after that, they weren't sure what to do. It kind of felt like for a while they were going to replace Desmond. Black Flag, I remember you play as a quote-unquote trainee for Abstergo.
Yep.
And then in Syndicate, you play as an initiate for... I shouldn't say you play as, because you don't ever actually play a character in the present timeline. You just kind of see cutscenes that include characters from the older games, and you don't ever see the person, the initiate, quote-unquote. They more just act as like a camera for you to see what's going on in the present time. Go ahead.
This is Desmond related, so this is why I'm cutting you off. So you know, because you didn't play AC1. In AC1, when they introduced Desmond and the Animus and all that, it's like he's been kidnapped. Like, they straight up kidnapped him before he, like, became complicit with everything. Like, I gotta do this.
You do have to escape in 2.
That's true. That's you're right. You're right. You do. I did. Well, yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
You gotta escape, and then you go to your secret little, like, Brotherhood lab, and do it from there. But they just had a lot. I remember, like, literally playing 2 and getting chills. Ezio, like, discovers an Isu vault beneath. It's either the Vatican or it's a really big chapel. I don't remember which, but he discovers an Isu vault, and one of the gods comes to him and talks to him and tells him all these things. And then he says, like, why are you telling me all this? And then they're like, we're not talking to you. We're talking to Desmond. And I, like, got chills. And I was like, ooh, because they know Desmond's in the Animus, and he's, like, playing and, like, seeing all this through Ezio. So they're talking to Desmond, and they're talking to me through Ezio. And that was so cool. And so I was super disappointed when, as the games went on, they kind of stopped caring about the present, and they stopped caring about the Isu. Until the recent set of games.
Yeah, about to say, because what I remember from what I played of Odyssey so far, I don't know who this person is I'm playing as, but
Layla.
She's like, yeah, I know what this thing is. I know what to do here. She doesn't matter. Okay, well, never mind.
I think that changes a little in Valhalla, but I can't confirm yet. So yeah. Anyway, the series started off social self, small worlds, and then it shifted a bit.
A bit.
Or I shouldn't say it really shifted, because I don't think the gameplay style changed much. I think the stories and whatever just weren't very great for Unity. Unity is the game too where they talked about having like 4 different protagonists and all of them were men, and you couldn't play a woman. So I remember that coming out and being like, well, I don't need to play that then. So the series had a couple flops, and then Syndicate came out. And I think people tend to lump Syndicate in with those flops because they didn't play Syndicate, but Syndicate in itself, and this is not Emily being like, I love games that aren't popular. Syndicate is genuinely a very good game. From beginning to I can't really think of much that's wrong with that game, and it does have one of the better parkour systems of the entire series that Syndicate and Unity do.
Where is Syndicate set?
The Industrial Revolution, London.
Okay.
So it's a very fun location and a very fun time.
Yes, and Unity is set in France. And then when the chapel, or the, what was it called? The church in France.
Notre Dame.
Yeah. When that burned down, they gave it away for free. And I took it for free knowing damn well I was never going to play it.
Well, and this is interesting. This goes into something I'll talk about too later. Is the historical commitment Assassin's Creed has. Not only do they try to replicate these places as well as they possibly can, but like the cultures, the people, you can like learn, like as you progress through the story, you can find different historical points, and those will go into your codex. And it's not like here's this location. They'll have a 10-page thing about like what the location is, the meaning it had, how it fit into the culture and the people. So I always just love playing those games, also just because I'm a huge history person. It's so fun to like kind of traverse these old places. Like even especially, we're talking about the Notre Dame. When the Notre Dame burned down, they actually used the Notre Dame from Assassin's Creed to help with the reconstruction because it was so like 1-for-1 accurate to the real Notre Dame, which is just so cool. Like, and I'll talk more about that in Mirage because some people pointed some things out to me as well on that. But yeah, back to the entire timeline. Syndicate was the last of the traditional games.
Yes.
And then they came out with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, which were these big, mega world RPGs that, like, I think Odyssey took me 120 hours to beat. I'm about 90 hours into Origins, and I still haven't beaten it. And they're incredible games. Nobody's ever doubted that they're incredible games. The stories have always been great. The gameplay's been fun. Did I just see you roll your eyes at me?
No, it wasn't rolling your eyes at you. It was like baffled eyes. That's what I was trying to portray. I'm sorry. It was not rolling your eyes at you.
Okay.
It was me like, when you said 120 hours to beat Odyssey, I just started thinking, what have you put me into?
It was 120 hours to I should say to platinum, but the platinum really isn't difficult. But the parkour systems were different. The stealth systems were different. I really think the series peaked at Syndicate with stealth. We talked about too earlier, and I was griping about the parkour systems. And I think the biggest gripe I have for that is Ezio getting to the edges of roofs, and he has no fear. He just jumps off. So sometimes you're trying to climb something, you hit the wrong button, then he goes flying through the air and you die, and you're like, oh, great, awesome. Even Jacob had the good sense when they got to an edge of a roof that you had press a separate button to have them climb down. And they also had hook shots because it was the Industrial Revolution London. So they had these cool hook shots that could bring them up to the top of a building really quickly if you need be, but I digress. They didn't really have that in these new games because there wasn't much for you to climb. And they were fun. They were great. The stories were great. I loved them. Incredible. But they were hell to get through sometimes, I will say. Especially if you're a completionist who wants to get everything. My thing is I want to do everything in an area before I move on. And I very quickly learned with Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla that it's a lot of cookie cutter, defeat the people in the camp, kill the leader, get the chest. Kill the leader, get the chest. Kill the leader, get the chest.
Yep, this is
Go into the cave and kill the alpha wolf. Go into the cave and kill the alpha wolf. And there's 500 of those throughout the land.
This is going to go back to our problem with the gaming industry. And also my Starfield review. Those cookie cutter things are just... They just made the game big to make it big. Like it's not innovative. I don't know why I struggled with that word. It's not innovative. It's boring at points.
It's not, and it's boring, and it's hard to get through, and it's exhausting, and it takes you away. But I will say for games like Odyssey, you know, it's not like they made the world big to make the world big. I love that you get to explore all of Greece. I love that at any point you can go anywhere in Greece. It's so fun, and I loved the different areas and the feel of them, and it's beautiful at any point. But, like, getting those checklists done, I was like, oh my gosh, another one? Like, are you serious? And so eventually I burnt out on them. And then by the time Valhalla came out, I didn't care about Vikings. I'm sorry, I really do not care about Vikings in the least.
I don't either.
I don't care about Norse mythology. Like, I love Greek mythology, and I enjoy Roman mythology, but Norse mythology, like, talk to me about the Norse gods, I'm always going to think of Thor. I'm always going to think of Tom Hiddleston if you say the word Loki. I will never not think of, if you looked at me and you're like, well, Loki. I'm like, yeah, you mean Tom Hiddleston? Like, is that who we're talking about right now? And that's probably a me problem, but, like, Marvel has so ingrained Norse mythology, like, into me. Like, I don't know, which comes into play because you'll find Norse mythology goes into Mirage as well.
Yeah, don't play the new God of War games because they go from Greek mythology to Norse mythology in the reboot.
You know, we talked about Percy Jackson over the last couple weeks and how I've been rereading those and how much I love the series. He did come out with the Norse mythology series. I've never touched it, and I've never had an urge to touch it. But yeah, and so at this point, 3 games into this new world, this new big open world RPG game, people were complaining because they wanted the traditional Assassin's Creed style back. They wanted the social stealth. They wanted smaller worlds. They wanted to blend in with the crowd again. And so Ubisoft came back and it said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a game that delivers exactly what you want. They announced 4 games. They said, we're going to give you a game that delivers exactly what you want. It's going to be small. It's going to be social stealth. It's going to be an intimate experience. And that was Mirage. And then they said, we're also going to give you the big open world RPG that you've been asking for, which is Codename Red. Maybe?
That's the one that's going to be in Japan, right?
Project Red, yes. That's going to be Japan. It's going to be open world, which, quite in my opinion, I'll play it and I'll love it, but it's never going to be Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, the only reason they did it is because people asked for it. They said no, and then Ghost of Tsushima came out, and they're like, oh, that is what people want. The other day, there's actually, I might have been talking to you about this, there's actually an interview with one of the directors of Assassin's Creed, like 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And he was like, everyone keeps recommending us the worst locations for an Assassin's Creed game. Egypt, really? Ancient Egypt, like Japan, and then they did Origins in Egypt, and now they're doing Japan. This was around the time that AC3 was coming out, mind you. The American Revolution.
They said, yeah, what people really want is to see George Washington.
Again.
That's what they want. They want George Washington. They want Benjamin Franklin. No, I've never wanted that. That was the most boring setting of any Assassin's Creed game I played, was try to play through colonial America.
Unity's worse, but I digress.
At least I find France interesting, right? If I had to run through the streets of France, I'd be like, ooh, it's France. I'm going to go see the Notre Dame. Let's go. What am I gonna see, like, in colonial America, truly? Okay, yeah, so Project Red is going to be set in Japan, and then they're coming out with a mobile game, which is Project Jade. And then the one I'm most excited for is Codename Hex, or Project Hex, which is still going to be in Europe, so not as exciting of a location. But it's going to be 1600s Germany, and we're going to be doing the witch trials.
Okay, I was about to ask that. I that's what I was thinking. Salem witch trials, though.
No, not America. We're not in America.
No, but that's still fun. Either way, it would have probably been cool. That's one of those things I've been like, okay, this is pretty dope. But no, yeah,
it's cool. It's going to be witch trials, and from what they've been, we really don't know much of anything, but from what little they have said, it's going to be darker. It's going to be a little scarier, maybe. And it's going to be something completely new. It's not going to be like the traditional games, but it's also not going to be those huge open world RPG games either. It's going to be its own thing entirely. And I'm really excited to see what that is.
Can I just say what I want them to make now is like so far in the past caveman time Assassin's Creed.
Oh, please don't do that. Please don't do that to me. I don't know anybody who wants that. I mean,
you just met somebody. How dare you?
I think they've gone as far back as they can. I think ancient Greece and ancient Egypt are as far back as they can go. Because they've covered the founding of the Brotherhood, which was Origins, and they've covered the first kind of Templars, which is the Cult of Cosmos in Odyssey. And so you go back any farther, and
so they're doing feudal Japan. They could also do ancient China.
They could. And here's the thing, like, if you go into the later games, they talk about how there's a Brotherhood in China and there's a Brotherhood in Japan. But if you ever talk to, like, fans, they'll be like, well, Templars are European. We can't go to Asia. Why would we go to Asia? And I'm like, please stop talking. Please, please. You're just telling me you don't know this series as well as you think you do. And I should say that all these new games are coming out. They're also introducing something called Assassin's Creed Infinity, which I'm nervous about.
Why does it sound like an online game?
It is. It's not a game. It's not a game. It is the platform on which every future Assassin's Creed game is going to exist. And apparently they're going to exist in this ever-evolving and changing online space. And every Assassin's Creed game that you play from here on out is going to be hosted within Infinity. Nope. And I'm not certain all that's correct. They've been a little hush-hush about it. I thought Mirage was going to be on Infinity as well. And Infinity is just the code name for it, but apparently it's going to be an online host for every game. And they've said in some way all the games are going to connect through it somehow. And I don't want to... I don't like the idea of it because I don't like online. I don't like forced online. Especially for single-player story games. But I'm not ready to tear it apart yet because I don't know how it's going to work or what it's going to be.
I will say this about Ubisoft, too. I'm tired of them shoving down there. You want to link your Ubisoft account every time I open an Assassin's Creed? Like, no, Ubisoft, I don't care about you. Just let me play your game, please.
You know, that's fair, but I will say I have done that, and I've gotten a lot of cool stuff in-game from the online Ubisoft thing because you like kill people and they're like, you won points for this thing, and then you can go redeem the points. Like I got Altair's outfit for Mirage for free and like a cool little hat for my bird for free.
I guess Altair's outfit is the only one that would make sense for you to get in Mirage given the setting.
it's I think you also get Ezio's, one of Ezio's from Revelations.
Okay.
So you can get it, but I digress. I'm hesitant to see how it will go. But Mirage was essentially supposed to be the first step in this new Assassin's Creed world. It was supposed to be the game that brought it all back to the beginning and gave the longtime fans what they were asking for. So I played it to find out if it was all it swore to be. And I will say it lived up to its promise. I think it did that. I think it delivered exactly what the people wanted. It brought back the original feel and the style. The world was small and intimate, but not too small. I still felt like I was always exploring new places and finding new things, especially when I was trying to get all the collectibles. And quite honestly, it takes place in 9th century Baghdad, which was like every other Assassin's Creed game. I'll never have this complaint. Those games are so beautiful. Like, I remember playing Odyssey and just stopping to, like, take photos all the time. And I did that. Like, it had this camera feature, and I stopped to take them all the time because I'm like, this is so beautiful. I wish I could go here, but it doesn't exist anymore. And so it made it fun to find those things, but I was never overwhelmed. I was never like, oh, okay, I feel burnt out. I can't move on to a new area. They didn't have the cookie-cutter missions everywhere. Everything was unique and new. The mechanics were very flashback to the traditional games. You could sit on benches to blend in. You threw guards into piles of haystacks. You had the notoriety system again, where everything you did was being watched and you had to tear down wanted posters if you got caught. It was exactly, I think, what people had wanted. And I'll say that it was those things for better or for worse, because sometimes I do think it hindered the game.
So I'm guessing that means we're about to go into pros and cons, because now this whole segment is going to be just like me with Starfield. This is going to be Emily Central, because I did not play Mirage. I'm going to come up with stupid questions for her. But before we get in, give your rating on a scale of 1 to 10. Decimals are encouraged.
Oh man, I think I would give this. If I'm basing it off of what it promised to be, I think I would give this a 7.8.
Oh, it's the exact same score I gave to Starfield.
Is that exact same score you gave to Starfield?
Same score. Remember, it was a 7.5 in Discord, and I changed it to 7.8 on the podcast. I rose it.
I could be talking to a higher score. I could be talking to a lower score. Here's the thing. I'll give my overall opinion of the game.
Well, you said based off what they promised. Let's not go based off what their promise. I want based off your enjoyment.
I'll give it like an 8 in the low 8s, because I had so much fun with this game. My overall review, this was a fun game to play. The setting was beautiful. Like I said, I had so much fun. They had like... And I don't remember if they did these in the older games, but they had something called like historical locations that you could go to, and they would give you like 10 pages of text on like what was going on in that time period at this location. And I would just read through those, and that was so fun to me. Just that they always have that commitment to historical accuracy. Nerd. Some people pointed out to me that like the rituals that they did before they went into temples, where they had to like wash each part of their body a certain number of times. If you stopped and watched an NPC before they entered a temple, they did that exact ritual, the exact number of times they would actually need to, and wash the exact parts of their body they needed to. Like, that's an incredible commitment to historical accuracy that I have to praise Ubisoft for everything they get wrong. I feel like they always are so committed to their historical accuracy in their locations.
Question, they're taking a bath?
They're not taking a bath. They have to, like, kind of... Is this a stupid question? Or is this a real question?
No, I want to hear the answer to this.
They're not taking a bath. Before you enter sacred places, like temples and things like that, part of the religion is that you need to purify certain parts of your body. So there's, like, small, like, bowls of water outside the temple where you would, like, wash your hands, maybe wash your feet, things like, so you're not taking a full bath, but you are, yes, a ritualistic cleanse. You're washing certain parts of your body to like cleanse before you enter a holy place. Okay. And I couldn't tell you off the top of my head exactly what you have to do, but there's like a certain number of times they have to do each thing and a certain number of ways they have to do it. And like I said, if you watch the NPCs, they will do it exactly as they are meant to. And I think that's incredible.
Now I will answer your question. It was a stupid question. But it had a good answer to it, so I'll take it.
So I just had so much fun running through this world and exploring and learning. The gameplay was a lot of fun. It felt so good to be like stealthily killing people again and like going to a location and plotting out how I can get rid of everyone in the area without being seen.
I really want to clip you saying it felt so good to go in and stealthily kill again. I just want just that out of context.
Listen, man, I enjoy the kill. It's fun.
Emily's a murderer 2023.
True. I thought they made some new additions, which I've learned weren't new additions to Mirage. They were in Valhalla, but they were new for me because I didn't play Valhalla. Where, you know, instead of just being able to go and find a chest or a collectible, they were in a barred room, which was kind of like a locked room scenario where you had to figure out how you could get into the room. And they were a little daunting sometimes, where it was like, oh, really? Can't I just have the item? But at the same time, they added a level of challenge.
So kind of like how Zelda does some, like, I guess all of them, like those kind of like hidden behind like a puzzle type deal, or...
Kind of, but it's like Zelda where it'd be like, okay, you have to figure out the right way to move these boxes. It would more be like, there's a book on the second floor of this house, but all the doors are barred and all the windows are barred. So, like, how can you get into the house with all the doors and windows barred? And it's like, okay, well, you have to go climb something, and using your throwing knife, like, you'll have to do, like, a lot of parkour, and then using a throwing knife, you can like get it through just like the slats of this window to unlock the door from the other side, and then maybe you have to get like this flaming pot to blow something up. And they got more intricate the more they went on.
Assassin's
and
Creed,
I enjoyed those.
Assassin's Creed teaching kids how to break and enter at a very young age.
Zelda been doing that from the beginning. Enter people's homes, break all their pots, steal their money, and go.
That's the thing with a lot of games. Like, even if you look back at Pokemon, you can just walk into people's houses. Like, without... You just walk in. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. This 10-year-old just walked to my house.
Take it all. Again, I think the game was exactly what it promised to be. The world was smaller. The mechanics were back to what they said they were going to be. I will say, sometimes I do feel like that was to their detriment. Some systems that were in the original series felt outdated now. Specifically, the notoriety systems didn't feel good. It never felt like, oh man, like I remember playing 2 and playing as Ezio, and when my notoriety was up, I would get nervous. I'd be like, oh man, if these guards come and fight me, it's over. And in this game, it felt just like more of an annoyance. It kind of had that thing where the guards see you and then they're red and they chase you. Like, okay, well, I got to go in this river and go underwater for 20 seconds until they forget about me and leave. And then I got to find some wanted. But it never felt good. It never felt like I needed to be careful about what I was doing. It was more just an annoyance. And that kind of was like, maybe we didn't get rid of this mechanic because we didn't care about it anymore. Maybe this was one of the mechanics that actually did kind of lose its purpose and age away from the series. Another mechanic that I don't think fit very well into this game was, so in the newest 3 games, Valhalla, Origins, and Odyssey, you have an eagle, a bald eagle. He's given a different name in each game. He's Senu in Origins, Ikaros in Odyssey. I don't know what he is in Valhalla.
Isn't he a hawk in Odyssey?
No, he's an eagle. Because
Oh,
Cassandra's called the Eagle Bearer.
Oh, well, never mind. All right. That shows you how much attention I paid so far.
The Assassin's Creed symbol is an eagle, Blake.
Listen. I have been very upset since I failed at romancing the first romanceable character I found.
She's the worst one out of the lot, so you're fine.
Okay, great.
And then in Mirage, I think it's called Indigo. I could be getting that wrong. I'm saying that off of memory now.
What about Valhalla? Is there one in Valhalla?
I think there is. I don't know his name. I haven't played it.
Yeah.
But basically, this allows you to get a bird's eye view of any location you're at. You can tag enemies so you can see where they are at all times. You can pinpoint locations of interest like collectibles or treasures or things like that. It's really helpful. But obviously, this didn't exist in the earlier games. So they added kind of a way to give you a handicap on the bird, which was that some of the bigger locations, like a big prison or the castle or something like that, would have a marksman whose job it was to shoot down birds. And so if you try to call your bird in that area, he would be shot at and he'd have to fly away. So you couldn't use your bird, which I think at the beginning I was like, oh, that's a really cool mechanic. Like, they're handicapping you a little. You have to go in blind again, which made it nerve-wracking and scary to be like, okay, I have no idea how many guards are going to be on the other side of this wall, but like I have to commit and just go because I don't have my bird. And that tired, though, because quickly every single location had a marksman. And I was like, well, if every location is going to have a marksman, what's the point of having the bird, especially when 1/3 of the skill tree is dedicated to upgrading your bird's abilities and your bird's sight? Like, why dedicate so much of this game to the bird if so many locations are going to have marksman and make him useless?
I was going to tell you at one point that when playing through Odyssey, I felt like it was a little broken. I liked it. I liked the fact that I had a better view because, I mean, Odyssey itself it's massive, obviously. It's not like 2 when you're breaking into something, you kind of have a better idea of what's going on. But Odyssey is so big with these huge fortified fortresses that it's good to like see where everybody is so you can make a plan of attack instead of just going down hallways. The marksman idea does sound cool, but yeah, it sounds like they overused it to all hell.
It did get really annoying. I'd be like, okay, please. And then I'd hit the bird button. They'd be like, there's a marksman in there. I'd be like, why do I have this bird if I can never use him? So it was mixed feelings. It was something I really enjoyed. I think they just needed to use it in more moderation than they did. Because I did like not having the bird at times. I think that did add an extra handicap to the situation. Something else, I just had something in my brain where I was like, this is something else I need to talk about. Oh yes, the skill points. So like the earlier games, they didn't have as many skill points. You only got a certain number. I think I 100% of the game, and by 100% of the game, I got my very last skill point I needed. So there were like none to spare. You didn't get that many. But the skills, I didn't really care for any of the skills they offered, and they didn't ever give me a double assassination skill, which was infuriating. Especially because they always had two people paired together. And I could kill one person and the other would be like, whoa! And then I could still have time to kill him before he could alert people. But it would still count as me being detected, quote unquote. And I never got to do the fun, like, whoop, like double kill thing that you have in every single other game. And there was no easy, like, chain assassination like there was in Odyssey. In fact, it was really infuriating to have to kill multiple people because the skills they did offer you, I don't feel like they helped. There was this one where it would be like, if you assassinate someone, you can throw a throwing knife at the nearest person so that they die and they can't see that you, which sounds helpful in theory, but oftentimes I would kill a lone man by himself and then I would automatically, like the game, because I had that skill, would automatically target someone way across the map and be like, throw a knife. And my knife would maybe not make it, or if it did, it would alert like the 6 people standing around that random guard I killed, and they'd be like, hey, what happened?
That sounds like a bug. That sounds like a bad bug.
It didn't feel helpful, or there was one where it'd be like, if you kill someone, your view will automatically pinpoint to someone close by who may have seen that, and that wasn't helpful either. But it felt really great. There were a lot of restricted areas where you had to like sneak through by like hiring people to blend in with. There were some disguises you could find to do some fun assassinations and make your way through areas. So overall, it was still an incredibly enjoyable game to play.
All right, question.
Yeah.
How much does it cost to hire a group of people to do disguise with? And where can I find a said group of people?
In real life, I feel like you could go to a club and blend in pretty easily.
No. I want to hire a specific group that I can just call on my cell phone at any time.
You know, I'm not in that market, so I can't give you a price. I can tell you in the game, you had to have a special currency, which was like a merchant token, to be like, I have the goodwill of the people. Here you go. Help me out, bud. So it never really cost me much of anything.
So do me a favor. If you have a lot of good connections, right? Look into that for me. Give them a call for me.
Sure.
I'm done.
Sure. So the big thing that brings the game down, in my opinion, was the story. I didn't care for the story very much. It did get really good at the end, enough that I was convinced to play Valhalla because I needed to know where things went. Because what I did learn was this was a straight up prequel to Valhalla, essentially, which I didn't know. So warning, if you're going to Mirage and you've never played Valhalla, maybe that will be really good for you because it will inspire you to play Valhalla, or you'll be confused. I don't know.
So far, you're the only person I know who's an AC fan who did not play Valhalla. Everyone was excited for it, but you.
I don't like Norse gods. I don't like Vikings. I was sick of Europe. I was sick of open world. It also came out the same year Ghost of Tsushima came out, and I was like, man, should I play Ghost of Tsushima or should I play Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Guess I'm gonna play Ghost of Tsushima.
What are your feelings on Tom Hiddleston as a whole?
He's Loki. I mean, like, I don't dislike Tom Hiddleston, but he will always be Loki. It's like if you said the word Harry Potter, I will always think of Daniel Radcliffe. Like, I'm sorry.
Another British man. I see a trend.
Well, so much of Assassin's Creed takes place in Europe, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, the story, I'll give you, like, a brief intro into the story. Essentially, you play as Basim, who lives in 9th century Baghdad, or a city outside of Baghdad, and he's working as, like, a petty thief. Almost like Aladdin vibes. Like, he's a straight rat, he's poor, he's stealing from people. He's got this best friend who steals with him, who tells him that he can do better than stealing, but also he's not good enough to be part of the hidden ones, who are the assassins.
This literally is Aladdin. He has a best friend who steals. Is the name Abu? Is he Abu?
There is an Abu Jafar in the game, and I was like, wow, there's someone named Abu Jafar. Like, he has 2 Aladdin names back to back. It was very reminiscent of Aladdin in the beginning. He was like, I can be more. I'm not just a street rat. But instead of falling in love with the princess, he falls in love with the hidden ones, who are the assassins, and he decides he really wants to join them. And they're not so sure about him. They're like, no, we don't know. But he essentially finds out that they want something in the Winter Palace. There's something there the Hidden Ones really want. So he is like, I'm going to go and I'm going to steal it. And they're going to be so impressed with my stealing capabilities, they'll make me a Hidden One. His friend is like, that's stupid, but I'm in. And so your best friend leads you into the Winter Palace. You find the thing you're looking for, and you're in your attempt to steal it. The Caliphate, who's essentially the king, finds you. And he tries to stop you, and in the process, he is killed by your friend. You and your friend are hunted down because you killed the king. And in retrospect, really terrible idea. This whole plan was, all of this was Basim's fault, I should say. But to kind of get revenge on you for doing this, because they can't find you, they go into your town where you live, and they crucify your friends and neighbors. And so Basim returns to the scene to find people he loves crucified and dead. And his friend returns at this time and is like, man, Basim, that sucks. And Basim essentially says, this is all your fault. You're terrible. You're horrible. You're the one who killed the Caliphate. And she's like, wait a minute. It was your idea to go to the palace and steal this thing. I was saving your life. Basim tells her to get out of here, never wants to see her again. He almost gets killed. He's saved by the Hidden Ones. The Hidden Ones take him to their training place where they train him for a few years. He becomes an assassin. And then essentially they're off to Baghdad because there's some whack stuff going on in Baghdad, and the assassins need to go do that. So the majority of the game, you're in Baghdad. You're trying to get rid of the corruption from within Baghdad by helping out various Brotherhood areas, and there are rebels that you're also trying to aid and assist. I didn't care for Basim overall. I was never really on his side. From the beginning, his choice to break into the Winter Palace, to do all these things, up until the very end, I was never really with him. The story, once they got to the middle, once you got to Baghdad, they really kind of gave up on the story a little. It only really got interesting when you were going to assassinate one of the big ones, like one of the big five, and you get this really cool cutscene where like Basim describes all their crimes, and it was cool and interesting, but overall, it was really lackluster. None of the characters were very enticing. You didn't really have any fun side characters or friends that were noteworthy. There was one guy, Beshi, who was a rebel who you helped, and I was like, oh, I like you, Beshi. Spoiler alert, he dies like halfway through the game.
Thanks.
And I was like, when he died, I was like, oh, Beshi, like, come on, man, you gotta kill Beshi. But like, I cry very easily. I cry a lot, and I cry very easily, and never at any point did I cry for Beshi or anyone, because I just wasn't attached to any of these characters. They did have this thing where every time Basim killed one of the main characters, he had this vision of a Jinni, which I think is basically just like a monster, coming to get him for his crimes. Like, he would hallucinate this thing, and so that was kind of a thing that was going on through him throughout the game, where he was like, why does this keep happening? Why do I keep having this Jinni? And your mentor, dang it, what's her name? If we had done this a week ago, I would have known that. Hold on.
Blame the crime in my city for not doing
I do. I don't blame you. I blame the crime. It's like Roshan. Yeah, that's her name, Roshan. I might be getting that wrong. I think it's Roshan. She's your mentor. She's very cool. Loved her throughout the whole game. Thank you, G, for pointing that out. It was Roshan. She was awesome. I did really enjoy her. And then, but like, she wasn't in it much. The story just throughout the middle was not great. And then you got to the end, the last section, which is where the story really picked up. And I got really into it. So you go, and essentially you're going to kill the head of the Templars, who are the Order of Ancients in this one. And right before you kill her, she tells you that Basim is more than man. He's not man, he's something else entirely. And Basim's kind of like, you want to tell me more about that? And so he, like, doesn't kill her. He, like, is kind of, like, siding with her a bit, protecting her, and your mentor shows up, kills her, and is like, forget what you heard, bud. It's forget it. It's fine. Just forget it. And Basim obviously is not going to just forget that he was told he's not human. And so he learns that there's something lurking in the temple beneath where the Brotherhood trains. He says he's going to go find out what it is. Your mentor tells you that she is going to kill you. If you try to do that, you're going to be killed. But of course, your best friend, who you reunited with at some point in all of this and forgave each other, which I don't think Bassam deserved. She whispers like a bad, you know, like you got the devil and the angel on the shoulder, and she was like the devil constantly whispering in your ear, being like, forget the brotherhood, like, let's go do this like really ridiculous thing. And so they decide to go to the temple, figure out what the answer is. You have to fight your mentor and get to the point where you could kill Roshan, but you choose not to because your best friend tells you not to.
Can you make the decision, or does it like force you to not?
No, you can't make the. At no point in any of this can you make a decision, because if I could make a decision, I would never have gone to the temple in the first place. I would have killed that bad lady, and I've been like, beans, awesome, we did it, guys.
And then you never would have played Valhalla.
But the game said no. I had to go to the temple. I had to listen to my terrible friend. I had to fight my mentor. I never wanted to fight my mentor. Yeah, I should point out, her voice acting was incredible. Mm-hmm. I think that's what made me love her so much. Her voice acting was so good. All the voice acting was really good. But essentially, you find an Isu temple. And what happens from there, I'm not going to be able to, like, properly explain because I don't fully understand what happened. But essentially, Bassam unlocks a memory which shows two ancient beings from the Isu time quarreling and fighting. One of them coming at him. He was one of the beings, I think. And so the person who was like coming at him was the Jinni he's been seeing in his dreams. And so it all kind of connects to this place and time. And at this point, he learns that his best friend is a figment of his imagination. Is the Mirage. His best friend is, in fact, the Mirage from the whole time.
The title of the game.
The title of the game. It all comes back in, man. And she's been a Mirage this whole time. She is, in fact, part of Bassam. She wasn't the one who killed the Caliphate. Bassam killed the Caliphate. He just kind of kept putting her in these moments and memories. And she was a part of him that he had essentially lost. And from the Isu time. So Bassam existed in the Isu time, he learns. And so in this moment, he reunites with his best friend. They join as one being again. And from there on out, Bassam becomes something else entirely. He's not really Bassam, but he also is still kind of Bassam. Essentially, if you play Valhalla, you'll learn that he is in fact, and spoiler alert, if you haven't figured that out by now, but just in case, Bassam is in fact Loki, the god Loki, and he plays a big role in Valhalla because of this. And so essentially, by reuniting with his past self, he has once again become Loki.
I was about to ask, like, how do you not just know that you're a god? But you're half a god, that's why. Okay, I get it.
I don't freaking know. It's why they were like, you're not fully man. He's the god Loki. And so he like fully, I guess, I don't know if he fully attains his godly powers or what, but by the end you could tell from the way he was speaking and behaving that he wasn't fully Bassam anymore. And so he comes out of the temple and he reunites with the Brotherhood and they kind of take him back in. His mentor, Roshan, however, casts off her hidden blades and leaves the Brotherhood because of what Bassam has done. She doesn't trust Bassam. I guess she's done with the Brotherhood.
I'm going to say this all ties together now. I figured out the whole thing.
Please share.
Yeah. So, all right. So he's a god, right? And he's no longer himself. He's becoming somebody else, like a possession. And that's where Assassin's Creed Hex is going to come in. We're going to have an exorcism. All right.
Yeah, sure. All
We're
right.
going to exorcise Loki. Come on now. Follow me here.
No, I see what you're working with. I don't think I can connect those pieces the way you're connecting them.
Listen. I've watched a lot of exorcism movies. I've only watched one. I don't recommend
that. Doesn't
them.
sound like you. That doesn't sound like you.
That's a long story. This is the 2010 one that was set in Louisiana. That was the worst decision I ever made. I don't know. My brain is connecting that. And, like, there's going to be an exorcism at some point.
Yeah, but there's like, I don't know, in the last iterations of the Assassin's Creed games, I mean, the old ones all have the Isu gods, and then Odyssey introduces the Greek gods, Origins introduces the Egyptian gods. I'm sure Valhalla has the Norse gods, which is how we get. I don't really know how they all connect. I think they're all like versions of one another.
That was even my next thing, because Loki is a Norse god. What is a Norse god doing in Baghdad?
I don't know. These are questions I hope will be answered by Valhalla, because I also learned that your mentor, Roshan, who casts away her hidden blades at the end of the game, picks them back up in Valhalla to aid the main character, maybe in getting rid of Basim, because I understand he's an antagonist in that game. I don't fully understand, which is why I was inspired to play. And the game ends with Basim essentially emerging as a new being, and he calls down Indiku, which is your bird. And as he calls down the bird slices his face and flies away, abandoning him, essentially confirming that he is no longer Basim, and this bird no longer has any ties to him, or that he's not part of the Brotherhood. But mostly I feel like to iterate that this is someone new entirely. It's not Basim anymore. He's someone else.
Man, he didn't even get a choice in the matter.
No, I mean, he did. He didn't have to go down to the temple. He didn't. He chose to reunite. Like, even after he had all the facts, he chose to reunite with his old best friend, or his Mirage, whatever, and become Loki again. But that's how the game ends, with your bird slicing your face and flying away, and Basim just kind of laughing it off and being like, well, I'm back out in the world now. And so it felt very Tears of the Kingdom to me, where the first chunk of the game and the last chunk of the game, where I was like, I'm in this. Mostly the last chunk of the game, I was like really in it, even though I didn't agree with the choices Basim was making. I was really in it.
Well, you can enjoy
the middle ground.
You can enjoy a story even if you don't agree with what they're doing. Like,
yeah. I enjoyed how well it was done. I really enjoyed Indiku slicing your face. Like, they didn't have to say anything. They didn't have to say that he was Loki or give any further indication other than the fact that your bird is no longer with you. The fact that your bird has turned against you now. And I really liked that symbolism. It kind of symbolized him turning against the Brotherhood turning against him, the loss of his identity. Symbolized a lot of things. And so I really loved it. But overall, story wasn't great. Characters weren't great. And so that brought it down for me a lot. So even though I loved the gameplay, I loved running through the world and being in the world, I wasn't super committed to the character I was playing and the motives he had, and therefore that brought it down for me a lot.
Which is completely
when
fair.
I just don't like the character. But again, I feel like they achieved everything they set out to do. They delivered on what they promised. I think it took me about 30-ish hours to platinum the game.
Okay.
Which isn't bad.
No.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. There were a couple platinums that I had to or a couple trophies that I had to kind of work a little harder for. But overall it was a pretty easy experience. It wasn't bad, and I had a great time with it, and I'm very grateful I didn't have to sit through another 120-hour game.
Yeah, so we're getting at an age where, like, well, okay, I'm at the age officially now. These large open world games are they're exhausting, and even it's fun for the first like good chunk of it, and then you're just like, all right, I'm getting over this. I want to get to a conclusion like pretty soon.
To think about, when I was playing this game, I was really committed to it. I played it in most of my free time for like a week or so, and a half or so. And I was like, man, I've devoted so much time to this game. We've done it. And then at the end, I was like, wow, that was really only 30 hours of my life. And then I had thought about the fact that I spent 120 on Odyssey. I spent 100 plus on Persona 5. And I was like, when did I have time for that? When did I have time for those things?
I'm gonna straight up say this, and this is the Persona effect versus the open world effect. Persona, it's not the same throughout those whole 100 hours. It feels like you're doing something different, and it makes it go by significantly faster.
The story is continually evolving and changing, and you feel like you're progressing. It's more like a temple kind of thing, like with Zelda, where you're continually going to the new temples. Correct. Essentially.
And the story never overstays its welcome. It does a very good job. The open world effect is, hey, we want to show you a lot. You can't do much. You're gonna repeat some things, but
a lot of things. And And I actually felt that I beat Mirage, and I like felt so good about it. I was like, oh yes, I platinumed another Assassin's Creed game. The Assassin's Creed blood is flowing through me. I'm gonna go and I'm finally gonna beat Origins because I've been working on it for years, still haven't beaten it. And I opened up the game and I looked at the map and I was like, no. All the information I had just like went right out of me. I was like, I don't remember what I was doing. I don't remember who the characters are. I don't remember what my goal is. And then I looked at the map and I only had like half uncovered the map and there's so much of the map left and I had like so many like little dots in the area I was in of things I needed to do. And I was just like, I can't. I think if I played that game, I think I'd have to start over. Because I genuinely don't remember anything that's happening in that game. But like I'm 90 hours in. So like I don't want to do that. So I don't know. At some point I'm gonna have to beat that game. But I had all the motivation in the world, and then I opened up Origins, and I was like, I can't.
I'm glad I'm gonna go into this like completely raw and not just put it down randomly. I hope at least.
No, you have to like stick with Odyssey, and hopefully by the time you get to Origins, you're not. I should say that this is not a reflection of Origins itself. It's an incredible game from what I've played so far. The people I know who've played it have loved it. Origins, I started Origins at a bad time. I started it in the middle of my Assassin's Creed attempt of platinums, and it came after Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Attempting Revelations, Assassin's Creed 3. So it came after 4 platinums of Assassin's Creed games, and then I opened this one up and I was just clearly so burnt out on both Assassin's Creed games, platinuming and open world games, that it just hit at a bad time and I've never been able to get back into it. But that is no bearing on how good of a game Origins is.
Lucky for me, for the thing I have to do for next week, Mario Wonder episode coming. This game is only about a 10 to 15 hour game, and it's incredible. But we'll get more into that. I'll talk a little bit about it in the after party as like a sneak peek. But
Origin, or what am I even saying? I just said Origins and Odyssey, and I meant Wonder. It's a different type of game.
There is a Mario Odyssey.
There is, and I think that's maybe why I said it.
Which you need to play.
My games are all getting mixed up. This did make me want to go back and replay Syndicate, though, really badly. And it did make me want to replay Odyssey, but that's because I've been watching you play Odyssey. And I just remember how much... Oh, so I'm jumping way back because I just thought of this. Something else that really bothered me with this game.
This will be the last topic because we got to jump to the after party.
Last topic. It's not going to be very long. Another mechanic that really bothered me, and I thought it was cool, but I don't think it worked quite properly, not the way it should have, was instead of having like a quest log, normally like in a menu you have a list of every quest, whether it's like here are your main quests and then here are your side quests, or like something to keep track of everything you've agreed to do. They didn't have that. They had instead what they called the investigation menu, which was like a big spider web of how everything connected.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, exactly. So, like, for example, in the center of the spiderweb, you had the head of the Order of Ancients, and then branching out from the head, you had, like, the other 4 people, and then branching out from the 4 people, you had a list of clues, and those clues were side quests, or, like, main quests that you had to do to figure out who those people were, and then kill them. And so they all branch out, and somehow all the side quests fit into that, or they'd be in another part of the investigation board. Which in itself was fine, because it made it easy to keep up with what was going on in the story. But there were a couple times when there was just, like, there were these things called Tales of Baghdad, which were essentially the only side quests in the game. And I'd go up to a person and talk to them, and I would get interrupted. Like, my phone would ring, or someone would come in the room, or something would happen. And I wouldn't hear what that character said or what they wanted from me. But those quests were not put into the investigation menu. There was no quest menu. There was no real, like, indicator of, like, where you were supposed to go or what you were supposed to do. There was no, like, marker on the map to be like, okay, this is where you're supposed to go next. And then I would try talking to that person again, and they would repeat, like, the last, like, 3 words they said. And I'd be like, but I don't know what you want from me, and there's no quest menu for me to go to and figure out what we're doing and why we're doing it. So there were a lot of times I did a side quest, and I'd be like, I don't know why I did this. Here you go. Like, I don't know, or I'd lose track of what I was supposed to do in a quest, and I avoided it because I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do next because there was no quest marker or there was no way to backtrack and look at those on a quest menu. And that was infuriating consistently throughout the game. That was my last point.
There was a game I played recently. I don't even remember what it was, but like they had like a quest things. They had like, this is main quest, these are side quests. But there were some quests they would not tell you were quests, just like that. I can't remember what it was that I played. I'm like, how do you expect? I don't understand.
Yeah, like there was one guy who needed me to find. Essentially, what I learned going back because I got interrupted while he was talking to me was he needed me to find the grave of this saint so that he could dig up the saint and move the saint's bones to the church. And I missed that whole thing, and he was just like, it's gonna have lots of flowers. And I was like, what does that mean? What does the phrase, it's gonna have lots of flowers mean? What am I supposed to do with that?
I'd Google at that point.
I just kind of wondered, and then eventually I found the grave he was looking for, and he was like, oh, great. And I was like, what? So, I don't know. It definitely was a little frustrating in terms of gameplay.
Last stupid question before we go to After Party. In your last sentence, you said you wondered, is this a reference to the hit game Super Mario Wonder on the Nintendo Switch, released in 2023?
It's actually a reference to the Cave of Wonders from the hit game Kingdom Hearts 1.
The boss fight.
Where you go to the Cave of Wonders. Because I don't know if you know, but this whole game has been an Aladdin reference.
I know,
and
it sounds wonderful.
By wonderful, do you mean the Cave of Wonders? It very was much wonderful. Anyway, I give it a high 7, a low 8. Fun time from beginning to end, great gameplay. The story was a little lackluster, and there were a few mechanics that threw it off its game. But I enjoyed it from beginning to end. Very excited for what Assassin's Creed does next.
Make sure if you're on YouTube, if you agree with Emily's review, leave it down below in the comments. Either tell her that she's exactly correct and her sentiments are correct, or say no, that was a stupid review. Don't say that. That's very, very rude.
That's mean. That would hurt my feelings. I would probably cry about that. If somebody put in this that was a stupid review and they weren't just like, I disagree with you, I'd probably cry. And I cry about everything.
That's something you and I are going to have to get used to if we ever like explode. Because there are going to be jerks in the comments. Don't be a jerk in the comments.
Don't be a jerk in the comments. I can't handle mean people. I need nice people. I need you to tell me, even if you don't agree with me, that you think I'm nice. I need validation.
Well, no.
Blake, shut up, bud.
I don't count because this is our whole friendship.
It's true.
That being said, if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, feed the algorithm. Actually, I need to talk to you about YouTube streaming at some point, Emily.
The algorithm? Oh.
Yeah. Feed the algorithm on YouTube.
Feed it. It's hungry.
Comment, subscribe. Here on Twitch, if you're watching now, follow. Please do. Help. I think we need 2 more followers. We need 2 more to hit 50. Please do all the buttons. We will be back. We're going to have a back-to-back week because I screwed up and we missed last week.
We're going to have more than a back-to-back week because we're going to be doing our special spoopy podcast where we're going to be talking about my favorite spooky game of all time, PT, the playable Silent Hills teaser, and all the conspiracy and lore that goes with it.
So look forward to that either Sunday or Monday. Next Wednesday will be Mario Wonder. And then we have other plans in the future after that.
Yeah, for sure. We don't plan on quitting. No. We like talking a lot.
Oh, well, I'll talk about this after party. That being said, bye, everyone. Oh, wait, last thing. You can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheBeardedBlake You can follow her on Twitch, twitch.tv/EmilyJean33. She sometimes goes live.
Sometimes.
Make sure you give us a follow there. It really, really helps. We'll see y'all next week, twice next week. And goodbye, everyone.